Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about the solar system and how it's structured and the different objects you can find in it, so this should go pretty fast. The first thing you need to write down is that there's a different unit of measure that we use for the solar system. A light year is way too big to be using for our solar system. The number would be incredibly small. So instead we use something called an AU, which is an astronomical unit. This is, 1 AU is equivalent to how far away the sun is from the Earth. So that's our stance. 1 AU is approximately 93 million miles. That's how far away we are. We need to write that down. So as we get started on our projects in just a bit, you will be noticing if you have an object in the solar system that is closer to the sun, the AU for it will be less than 1. And anything outside or farther away from the sun than we are will have greater than 1 AU. So the planets. Planets, first off, are based off of these criteria. They all have to be round and spherical. They all have to orbit the sun. And they all have to have cleared their orbit. We talked about that the revolving objects around the sun have to have a completely cleared pathway. So no rocky bodies are in it that they'll collide with that we know of. That doesn't mean an asteroid couldn't cross over and come and collide. It means that orbiting bodies in that pathway have completely been cleared. And the first 4 planets of our solar system are grouped together. They're called the terrestrial planets. The thing that they all have in common, they're all small and they're all rocky and dense. So in order, that would be Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. So we all have those in common. And the last 4 planets in our solar system are called the gas giants. So as the name says, they all have these things in common. They're all large in size. They're all gaseous, and they all have rings. So rings that orbit around them. So even though you can't see it in this picture, all of these planets actually do have rings. And in order, that would be Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So next up are the asteroids. Asteroids are simply just small rocky bodies that orbit around the sun. They're not going to be moons or planets. They'll be much, much smaller. And they typically aren't very spherical. They can be kind of odd shape. There are 2 main sections of our solar system that contain asteroids. So that's kind of like their home base that they orbit around the sun, and one's in, well, 2 different spots. That doesn't mean that one can't bump into another one and then hit it outside of its orbit and then it goes flying. Those are the ones that we watch that could end up hitting Earth. But there's 2 main regions that they're located. The first one is the asteroid belt. And this belt is located between Mars and Jupiter. And the second one is called the Kuiper belt. This one is located just outside of Neptune. So the farthest belt in our solar system. So next we have the dwarf planets, and these are a relatively new category of objects in our solar system. They're not technically a planet. They were given that name probably just to make people feel better. Dwarf planets, they orbit around the sun. They have a spherical shape because they have enough gravity to actually create that shape. But the thing that they don't have is they do not have a cleared path. So there are other objects in their pathway. And the 2 main dwarf planets that you need to know, because there are many of them, the 2 that you need to know are Ceres. Ceres is located in the asteroid belt. A little fun fact, Ceres used to be believed to be a planet long ago. but then with the invention of the telescope, it got demoted. And then Pluto. So Pluto, as you know, used to be considered a planet, a main planet in our solar system. But as we discovered more about it and more about our solar system, we realized that it didn't have a cleared pathway, so we needed to create its own category, hence the term dwarf planet. Pluto is located in the Kuiper Belt. Okay. Satellites. Satellites is just a sciencey name for any natural object that orbits around a planet. So our moon would be considered our satellite, natural satellite. Not every planet has a moon. Okay, last up is how the solar system formed. We already kind of talked about this. It's the same concept of how our moon was created, but let's just continue on with it. So 4.6 billion years ago, when the star first formed, so you can see here our sun forming, and all that extra gases from supernovas existed around it. And once that created a gravitational field, then these heavier elements started to kind of gravitate towards the center, towards the sun, and created this rotating disk of gases that kind of rotated around it. And so since it's rotating, the heavier, more metallic materials like iron and nickel gravitated towards the center. And those made the rocky planets. And the lighter material, like helium and hydrogen, or like carbon dioxide, existed on the outer parts of the rotating disk. And those would become the gas giants. And the planets, all of them, even the ones that don't exist anymore, so the ones even like Theia, the really early day, first beginnings of a planet, are called planetesimals. So those would have existed about right here. So they may have not cleared their pathway yet, but they were forming. So little baby planets are planetesimals. And that is all you need to know about our solar system. So you are done with your notes.